Here we
You blew it! You blew it! This man was a bona fide scrub.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Oh, poor you.
I'm funny how? I'm funny like I'm a clown, I amuse you. I make you laugh, I'm here to fucking amuse you. What do you mean funny? Funny how? How am I funny?
Thank you for joining us once again on the Participation Trophy Podcast. This is episode 26. Got me feeling like a mixtape DJ talking over this beat. Might just start throwing out some DJ ad-libs throughout the show and shit.
You got $100 bill, put your hands up. $20 bill.
Jamal,
let's just be quiet.
Jamal doing his theater. Jamal doing his theater bit, just me yelling out, "Fast shout, Dayton, Ohio." But now we got the usual gang out here: Jamal Smith, Zane Zaidi, Neil Dalal. I am Abdullah Sharif. We got another good one for you. Another big week. We have a new NCAA champion. Fast shout to the Baylor Bears. Absolutely taking control of the undefeated Gonzaga Bulldogs. We're talking a lot of basketball in Open Gym tonight. Jamal still on his Q&A bullshit. We'll talk about that finale in theater. And speaking of being on their bullshit, Paul Pierce. We know about Paul Pierce, right? Wilding out on his Instagram story.
He forgot to hit close friends.
You know, Neil actually had a press pass to the Instagram story. He actually scored an interview with the Turkish chick. Turns out she's a Michael Ruffin fan.
Oh my!
Yeah, but we'll save that for later. We definitely got our takes. We got our jokes about the unprecedented personal life of Paul Pierce. But first, opening day of baseball was upon us last week. We're not going to talk about baseball though. We're going to talk about Neil. We're going to talk about Neil watching baseball. My man was visiting Paul Pierce's old Gracelands on a family trip to Boston, and included in his itinerary was the O's and Sox at Fenway. How the hell was Beantown, Neil?
Yeah, so it's really funny how it all came together, and even throughout the course of the day, it was many not tragic but eventful happenings. So I had gone to Boston with my sister to visit my grandma and my aunt. And so I was flipping through the TV. I was like, oh, snap. The Orioles play here on Thursday. I was like, oh, let me look at tickets. Tickets were expensive, especially they were like limited capacity, all those things. But I was like, screw it. It's first time at Fenway. You know, the Orioles are playing. It's opening day. Might as well. It's worth it. My friend was available. So I was like, okay, this will be a blast. So first I was mad because the game was supposed to be Thursday at 2 and I was leaving on Friday. So I was like, okay, that's great. But then there was rain in the morning on Thursday. Even though the rain was going to be over by the afternoon, they postponed the game at like 10 a.m. So I was like, oh, fuck. Yeah. What am I going to do with these tickets? Because I was supposed to...
Where'd you get the tickets from? StubHub?
Yeah, SeatGeek.
Okay.
Makes more sense for you.
Too easy.
I'll go with you.
But because my sister had to work on Saturday, we were gonna like leave early on Friday. We drove there, we're driving back. So 6-hour drive. I'm like, well, dang, how am I gonna go to this game at 2 o'clock and then drive all the way back to Maryland later that night?
And where are you gonna park your car?
Yeah.
Where are you gonna park your car?
So that actually takes me into a great opening part about the day of. So I decide, okay, full send. I'm gonna go on Friday. I'll get back. We'll leave Boston at 6, and we'll get back to Maryland, DMV area around midnight, whatever. I don't really care. It's still worth it for me. So I pick up my friend. We're going. I have Spot Hero on my phone, ready to park somewhere. I'm like, okay, this is going to be great. We roll up to what we think is the lot. So I'm trying to turn into the lot from a left. Opposing traffic, another guy's turning right into that same lot. I'm like, fine, I'll let him go, whatever. Somebody else pulls up behind him. I was like, okay, I need to get in and get my spot now. So I'm there and behind the additional car, and dude's talking to him, whatever. This lady hops out of the second car that I was inching in front of and jumps in front of my car and says, back up, back up. I'm like, what? What are you doing? This freaking Karen, so aggressive for no reason. I'm like, excuse me, ma'am, I was here before. She's like, no, back up, get out. We're coming in here first. I was like, this is ridiculous. Eventually, the parking attendant comes and talks to me because I'm not being some batshit crazy person who's yelling at somebody. And so I ended up being at the wrong parking lot anyway, so I just reversed up out of there. But I was just like, why is this woman being so aggressive for no reason? It's an hour before the game. Calm down. It's opening day. Ugh.
This was at
You know what
Fenway?
I think it is? I think people
This
are
was
getting
literally
their,
2 blocks away from Fenway.
I think people are getting their social legs back. Like, think of like, you know, we've all been paralyzed by the pandemic, if I can make an analogy.
Sure.
And we are slowly getting into rehab. You know, I think we're going to see people in social settings kind of forgetting how they used to navigate. I went to the town center across the street from you earlier, and motherfuckers are out trying to flex, like in Woodbridge, Virginia. You know, like just trying to reacclimate and shit. So I think people are going to be off a little bit, and you know, I feel like she had a little case of getting her sea legs back.
I don't know. She was just crazy. Me and my friend looked at each other. We were like, why is this woman harassing us?
Maybe it's just how they talk. That might just.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, so we're talking about the angriest of white people who live in Boston.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, they call it a race in San Francisco.
But I totally get Jamal's point, because look what the fuck's happening in South Florida and Miami. I mean, you've seen those fights that have been breaking out. World Star is like that. They had to jump to like T3 connections for their fucking servers because they were putting some shit out, and that's why the curfew was actually implemented down in Miami. It wasn't really a pandemic related curfew. It was because motherfuckers were just throwing restaurant. Yeah, I mean, it was the middle of Ocean Drive, and restaurant tables like flying across the fucking street. So and to Boston, same thing. That lady probably got out for the first time in like 6 months. So like the entire Northeast tri-state area, just the whole shit just came.
They
out.
should like reorganize the states and like lump people together. You know what I'm saying?
Yo,
Like,
that's not a bad idea. That's
you
not a
just
bad
take
idea.
Boston, you take Florida. Can you imagine? Put them together and just like move us down like a little bit.
I thought you meant like shuffling the actual like Northeast states, like, you know, merge like Vermont with Boston or some shit.
Yeah, but that's not as fun, right? Because like
I want the states
might
reshuffled for ideological reasons, for health and safety reasons.
Yeah,
because there are clearly some people who don't really need to blend.
You're
with
just about to
right
partition the country. Just be all right, y'all over here, y'all over here.
Which is kind of what we're doing now, but okay. Neil, out of curiosity, how much are the tickets?
So including fees, which were dumb, was 130 each. So 260 for 2 tickets.
Man.
Where were you at?
Just like, what is it? Right field, like 7 rows up. We were right behind the bullpens, which were nice.
And now to our sponsor, StubHub.
SeatGeek.
No shit.
SeatGeek. Sorry.
SeatGeek. Fast show.
Dude, I had a bad StubHub experience. I haven't used them since. I had a really bad experience with them.
With who? StubHub specifically?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. They
What
just
happened?
Couldn't get the transfer right from the seller. And had me and my kids standing outside of Cap One Arena for forever, trying to wait for some shit to go through.
See, bro, see, I've learned that lesson, and that specifically that same issue, but you gotta check, you gotta make sure that ticket barcode is in your email before you leave the house. I don't usually, but
it's tough.
We already
it's
on
so
the fly,
hectic already. It's so hectic.
It's on the fly.
Like, especially if like I've done it alone, but like with kids, probably grabbing all that shit. Like, oh, the ticket's coming.
And they're asking like, why are we going in? Like everybody's gonna, why are we going in? I'm like, you fucking know. But on the bright side, my upgrade was better than the original seats. Like they felt bad enough that. So yeah, we dealt with some bullshit for like 30 minutes, but we made out okay. But I go direct now if I can. Straight Ticketmaster.
Yeah. Did you go to 2 games, Neil, or 1? I thought I saw 2 separate social media posts by you on like different days.
Just because the Orioles out of nowhere swept the Red Sox, I had to post after the sweep as well. But I was already back here at Maryland.
Okay.
But it was a very nice experience. We walked around the entire stadium. You know, went up the Green Monster. Pretty cool place. Nice. Homey feeling.
Yeah. I asked for a slur tally. Were you able to accumulate
I don't
one?
think people were pretty well behaved. People were pretty well behaved, and it was actually a pretty well socially distanced place. Security even came up one time and told somebody to put their mask on. I was like, wow, this is a pleasant surprise from some other people.
What was the capacity?
It is a Northeast though. I mean, you go to Texas, they're like,
right,
for sure.
There you go. Right.
Yeah.
That's what I was just going to bring up, because Texas just had a full house, 40K,
sold out,
40,000 sold out game.
Right, the Rangers game was packed.
Yeah. So what was the amount?
Capacity was capped at 12%, which is about 4K people, and people were fairly well spread out. I was actually really impressed. They
What's the square root of the
zip-tied-
stadium?
Yeah, what was the square root of Fenway Park? I'm bleeding.
Damn,
Oh.
the numbers flew, man.
I know. I was about to say he did that shit off top of his fucking head, right?
No, because I definitely looked it up out of curiosity, so I just remembered
I
it.
don't know, man.
Yeah.
But I was really impressed. They zip tied all of the seats that weren't ticketed because they're obviously only ticketing certain places and spreading people out. So you couldn't even go to a different seat because it was zip tied shut.
Wow.
I was really impressed with that. Somebody took their time with that.
So, are the Nats having fans yet?
Yeah, they had fans today for opening day. We're recording on Tuesday. They had their first game after a pretty big COVID scare right off the bat for them, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Juan Soto, fast shout, Juan Soto,
Walk-off hit.
hit run, home run.
I've been saying since last summer, the one thing I want to do is go to a baseball game. I was like, 2021, summer 2021, I want to go to a baseball game.
I love baseball games.
Have you been to a
It's a
baseball game
great
or no?
experience.
You have been to a baseball game.
I have. I just want to go to a Nationals game because they took the minor league team is no longer in Woodbridge. I would do.
Have you been
something
to
that.
an Orioles game or no?
Yeah, it's been a while since I've
Okay.
been to an Orioles
Yeah.
game.
It's a nicer stadium, but yeah, the
Camden is
views
dope.
at Nats Park is
Yeah.
good too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say Orioles and Nationals probably have two of the top 10 stadiums in the league.
So I'll ask you guys: do any of you feel comfortable going to a baseball game? Well, Neil, you just went obviously. but-
The Nationals game
Zane.
low-key definitely looked packed. So I don't know about that, but the Red Sox game was very safe, I would say.
When it hits home as much as it has over the past few months for me,
Mhm.
it's like it's not yet. I really want to,
Yeah,
Sure.
and I feel like it'll be okay, but that skepticism is about as strong as it's been for a while right now. So I want to give it a few more weeks. Or
I'm trying to
a few more
temper
months.
because I've been telling people like, oh motherfucker, I'm at 80% right now. Like I've
Mhm.
gotten the first shot. I'm going to be at 90. Like, don't fucking talk to me yet. You know what I mean? Like I can do whatever the fuck I want. Like I
Yeah.
can go sit. I'll go to Popeyes right now, bitch, and sit on a toilet seat, bare ass cheeks, because I'm at 80%, right?
Oh,
So I need to kind of reel it back in, right, and be careful about what I'm doing. As much as I would love to go to a baseball game, and it's outdoors, it's one of the lower risk things. I still am not at the point of trusting everybody else around me. So
Jamal, that's just your inner Boston woman right now, just trying to break out,
Fucking smart pack.
sitting on a Popeye's toilet seat, shit. Like,
I gotta do. Look, you gotta do something. Let motherfuckers know you're really out here now. Like
Yeah.
I'm back out here.
yeah, well, that's what I'm
Taking the
saying.
shit at
Like,
Popeyes, I'm back out here
what,
now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, just full vengeance. Because, like
Full
I've said, on a previous episode, you did COVID right. Like, you stayed the fuck in. I remember.
Yeah.
You
Look, I might
stayed
not-
in so much. You talked about it so much on your podcast that I hid like half the shit I did. I wouldn't even
Yeah.
share that shit. Like,
No, I was terrified, man. Just because, and not to make it morbid, but my mom lost people close to her.
I feel you, man. But
and,
that's how I am now, right now. Like, I feel that right now. Like,
Yeah.
it's just it's happened so close around me
Mhm, mhm.
that even with me being at 80%, Miriam just got
Yeah.
her second shot this morning. So,
Okay.
but still, just because it's hit so close, so recently, you just kind of like, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait it out a little bit longer.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else in Boston? Is that a wrap? Oh,
It's a
sweat.
wrap.
Join the Benzino.
Yeah.
I'll
There's a
act
name
like
drop
I
for
know.
you.
I'll
There's a
act
name
like I
drop
know
for
what
you.
that is.
Oh.
He's not know what that is. Like it's an
Like what that is,
object.
Like the software.
You're just for that you can't share a word during our Paul Pierce segment later. Okay, you just
What?
look up
My
Benzino.
favorite player.
Neil should be
Just
saying
saying
a word.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well, yeah. Well, we'll leave it at that because baseball just happens to be one of the sports that we here at the Participation Trophy Podcast just don't fuck with as much as we probably would like to. I'll just leave it there.
We're gonna get there.
We're gonna
possibly.
get there.
Yeah.
Either through ourselves or through a proxy.
Shoot
We're gonna
some
get there.
shoot some baseball questions over to us,
Please.
Yeah.
We need
When
it.
it's
We
August
need
and
it.
it's the only sport on, then that's
Yeah.
maybe when we'll talk about it for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go ahead and get into some sports that we do actually watch. The gym is now open. I don't have the bell sound. How about them Baylor Bears? Listen, if we're gonna be honest about a sport that I don't keep up with as much as I want to, it's college basketball.
Yeah,
I love the
didn't catch on.
Yeah, I love the tournament. I love seeing young athletes out there like playing their absolute hearts out for free.
But did it feel like for me, we didn't have it last year, right?
Yeah.
It didn't happen last year.
Correct.
To
Not at all
me,
last year, yeah.
I don't follow it, but usually I can still sense it in the air, right? And I don't know if that's because of like workplace pools or like somebody mentions it, like water cooler talk. I just had it wasn't on my radar at all. I don't know why.
I think because the regular season was so spotty for some teams. I mean, you look at in some matchups, one team would have played, 26 games, the other one played like 18.
Right.
Or, some
12.
guys, started and stopped, some started and stopped and didn't come back at all. Right. So it was a little weird. Obviously, the no fan element is huge. They play all in one location. Part of the thrill for me, the NCAA tournament is advancing and physically moving to new locations. None of that was the case this year. Yep. They did a great job kind of duplicating the atmosphere with the cardboard cutouts and the fans. They had some people in the stands. Right. So I think the atmosphere kind of from the Sweet 16 forward was really, really good. If you tuned in, so you really couldn't tell. I mean, it wasn't that much of it. It's kind of like the late bubble, right, for the NBA. Yeah, they did such a good job of kind of getting as close as possible to the environment. But it's just a weird season in general. I mean, I think there's no surprise that people just didn't follow it as much as they typically do.
Yeah.
Back to you, Bob.
Yeah, no, I feel like all those things are true, and the way the pandemic has affected all sports, college and pro, has been something that we've felt pretty deeply. There's still an element to sports that I feel like the pandemic hasn't ruined, and that's the actual, like I said, the heart and the grit that comes with sports. One of the things that the tournament has always kind of attracted me with is that at its highest level, right? Like just these kids playing, for nothing, just for name and their alma mater and so on and so forth. So even with college basketball, I don't watch college basketball throughout the season at all. If maybe a game here or there that might happen to be on in the background, but the tournament's always been that for me. Just seeing that tension, that ambiance, just the tenacity of every game. And we saw so many upsets in the first few rounds this year, right? Yep. I mean, so many. And even up until the Final Four, UCLA was a bottom tier team. And they made it to the Final Four. And then Baylor in general, having not been to the championship game in decades, you got a juggernaut like Gonzaga, 31-0, and they dominated them. Like, they fucked them up. Yeah. And they've got some studs coming out. Their stocks have gone up. We'll talk about the Wizards and how it might relate to them. They got some guards, but
So one thing with Baylor winning last night by like you mentioned, a substantial margin, there was some talk about Gonzaga. Yes, they went undefeated, and yes, that's a tremendous accomplishment in any year in college basketball. But their competition was not great if we really kind of get down to it. I mean,
they're not a Power 5 conference team.
No, not even close. I mean, you're playing
Jay
BYU.
Billis over here just fucking the whole shit up. Jamal Billis over here.
Well, look, when you're playing BYU, Loyola Marymount, Pepperdine, Pacific, like it's hard to kind of come up against, Baylor, who had one of the top defenses in the in the league, and they're some fucking dogs, man. Scott Drew's a good coach. So they just hadn't seen that, and we kind of see that, every year or so, right? There's always a team that kind of runs a table in a smaller conference, a mid-major type of conference. I guess just they can't handle it in the postseason. Another big thing, back to Zane's point about just not having a radar on college basketball, is a couple of the big name programs just weren't in it, right?
Duke, Kentucky.
Either they didn't make the tournament or they didn't get far. So UNC made it, I think, one round. Duke didn't make it. Kentucky, had a lot of problems this year. And even though these teams historically still don't do that well in the conference, they still draw attention. So you're going to see some stars play for Kentucky, even if they only make it through, the round of 32 or something like that.
Is John Calipari still coaching?
He is. He's still at Kentucky. Yep, still there.
He was probably locked up in like some bondage, like leather outfit, like watching the game, like chained up and shit. Those BDSM drills. Being whipped, flagellated.
So yeah, I mean, props to Baylor again. I don't know if people remember, I'm the resident true crime fan on the podcast, but Baylor had an incident in 2003 when one teammate shot and killed the other one.
That's the one they had the documentary on, right?
Yeah.
That joint was crazy.
Yeah.
So, the coach knew about it, right, or some shit. It was some Crazy.
Coach, athletic director. It was if you haven't seen the documentary, I'm drawing a blank.
It's
We can look
so
it up.
good. I
Yeah,
gotta
but
pull up the
man, it
name.
was talk about the scandal of all scandals
Yeah, that's
in
a
college
must watch.
basketball.
Oh my! Wow.
And granted, I mean, that was 18 years ago, but you want to like, how does a program
Yeah.
recover from that?
Yeah.
From
Right.
It's called
sanctions
disgraced.
and losing recruits and people just not wanting to go there. And it's fucking Baylor University. It's not a major city. It's not a major market. So it's tough for them to recruit anyway. So for them to dig out of that and get back to their where Baylor's been good for for a while, and they finally broke through and got that championship. So props to them.
Man,
Yeah.
that's
a documentary is called Disgrace, by the way, for anybody who hasn't seen it. It was
Yep.
on Showtime.
Yeah.
I think it came out like 5 years ago.
Yeah, man, it was rough.
Really good.
Rough. Yep.
that's a dark thing. But the only thing I was going to say is that Gonzaga and Baylor, leading up to this game, in the past 2 years, they combined to go 115-8.
Yeah, it's crazy. That is crazy.
But then I was so annoyed with how crappy of a game it was because Gonzaga could not knock down any of their 3-point shots, and Baylor was just lights out.
Well, you
So-
saw in the first 3 minutes what the game was going to be like.
Oh, they put a hurting on them. It was 29-10 or something like 10 minutes
Yeah.
into the game.
Yeah.
Yep.
But also shout out to a championship game that I was actually good. The Stanford women's team beating Arizona
That
for
was
their
yeah.
championship. That's their coach had 29 years in between her 2 championships at Stanford now.
Wow. Good for her.
Weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, speaking of those Baylor dogs, the Wizards, we've been talking about putting some dog in that roster, and the draft is coming up in a few weeks.
Help us.
And yeah, so I don't know if they're gonna, history will have them back in the 9th spot or some shit.
Isn't that shitty that that's the only thing we can think about is
Yeah, it's just
this will be a year that we need a top 3 pick.
yeah.
Mhm.
Even top 5 would be great.
Even top 5 would be great. I mean, the target we want, I mean, let's be honest, is that probably sitting at number 2. So
Hey,
it's what
if
we
they
really
get
need
the
to
first
be.
spot, they'll be happy. If they get the second spot, they'll be happy. If they get the third spot, they'll be happy.
Yeah, which means they'll get 8.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's still workable if you have the right people in place to make those decisions. And we'll talk about the Wizards a little bit more extensively, in a bit. But I think with the Wizards, it needs to be what they need, right? That should be the focus of what is it that they need. And for me, in my opinion, it's a wing player, a good defender, somebody who can play the perimeter, make shots, and move on the floor in transition, right? So like a 2, a 3 max.
Okay.
Like I don't want another big. I want somebody who can spell Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook, play both positions. They try to make Troy Brown that kind of guy. If you've seen historically, the Wizards have tried to get players on the floor that can kind of be mobile and run and have good stamina to be able to constantly run back on defense or play transition offense, so on and so forth. So I think that's where the Wizards need to kind of focus on. And I think that if they land in that, even if they land in that 8-9 spot, if they have the right people in place to develop these players, they'll be able to work it with anybody. Even like they've been able to do it with Rui. You got Rui at the 9th spot, and he's developing at a very high pace.
Yeah. So if you look at the top prospects, if you look at many mock drafts, 1, 2 is going to be Cade Cunningham and Evan Mobley.
Yeah.
Cade Cunningham's a 6'7" point guard who
Yeah.
could have
6'8".
6'8". Could have gone to the NBA probably from junior and high school. I mean, he's that fucking good. He's been on the radar of everybody. And the number 2 is most likely going to be Evan Mobley. Evan Mobley had a pretty good tournament. Again, somebody that's been out on ESPN since he's probably fucking 12 years old. Beyond that, there's just a host of like different wings, mainly. Not too many bigs in this draft, and I was really focused on like we need a big like no matter what. My thinking on that kind of to Abdullah's point is kind of eased up, but we need probably a wing player. I think we have a substantial amount of or a good amount of offense, but I'm also looking at guys that are, can switch. Today's game is about switching. And, we need to get a defender at some point. I know it's not the sexiest pick, but, honestly, that's where the team has been lacking for forever. So
5 years under Scott Brooks.
Yeah. So Cade Cunningham is declared. Evan Mobley, I believe he's soon to declare. Jalen Suggs, we assume he's going to declare. This is the order that's looked at in most mocks.
Yeah.
Then there's Jalen Green and Jonathan Kuminga, who went straight from high school to the G League. They both played for G League Ignite. I watched them play a few times.
Yeah.
I would love to have Kuminga. I've been a big fan of his.
Same.
Jalen Green also would be a pipe dream because I think he's going to go probably top 4 because people have been drooling over him for a while. Again, these guys are not finished products, but they are athletic as fuck. And Kuminga's a good wing defender. That's kind of what he's been.
7'2" wingspan.
Yeah, bro. After that, there's Moses Moody, who's probably going to declare also. He went to, I believe, Arkansas. And James Bouknight, who went to UConn, another good wing player, can score his ass off.
But it's okay. My guy, Daryl Marcel, shout out Maryland, shut him down in the tournament.
And then finally, there's Scotty Barnes, who is really one of the more enigmatic players in the draft this year. Florida State player, 6'9", I believe. But didn't look great in the tournament, in my opinion, and left more questions on the table than answers. It's funny, Leonard Hamilton had him playing some point, because he wants to prepare him for. It's one of these cases where I know he's not going to stay, so let me start to kind of groom him for his NBA role. I don't really know what he does well offensively, but people are really enticed by his measurables because he's 6'9", like 7'3" wingspan. He's like a physical freak. He's a lot more aggressive in high school. I don't know what he's going to pan out to be on the NBA level. It kind of reminds me of Marvin Williams when he went number 2. Scotty Barnes also didn't start at Florida State. But again, looking like whoever wants to get him is going to have to work on kind of grooming him. He's probably like a 3-year project, so to say.
Grooming.
Yeah.
Right.
Which, not the strong suit of Washington's. I have no idea. But I feel like I'm a little nervous because I feel like he's going to be in the range the Wizards pick at, just all things considered. And he plays the same position as Rui, but I feel like he's going to be tied to Washington once this draft lottery order kind of shakes out. So just kind of
so if you have all these like wing players, like what is you only have so many minutes, right? I mean, you're assuming Westbrook's not going to be here for a super long time, but who knows with that contract? You're hoping Beal's going to be here. So, I mean, is your goal to keep going small and run a 3-guard lineup?
Well, I think it's just kind of
Yeah.
It kind of turns into a platoon system, right? Like, I'm not saying that they would pick Scotty Barnes if he was the best player available to them, but you have Denny, you have Rui, you have Bertans. If you add another kind of forward-ish kind of player in there, that's going to take up a lot of minutes.
Yeah, I mean, how many minutes is Rui getting right now? I mean, if he's developing at this exponential
Rui
pace,
should be playing his normal starting 36 minutes a game.
Exactly, right? And then Beal's going to play 38 minutes a game, right?
Sure.
I don't know.
So here's a whole different angle. What about a point guard? Don't the Wizards need a point guard?
Badly.
Yeah, Cade Cunningham's the dream, man. And after that, Jalen Suggs.
You're right. He's the dream. But okay, so
then how do you try out that lineup with Westbrook?
I think that you have to almost.
This is a guy who's being groomed by Westbrook for
Westbrook's
only going to be here for 2 more years. Then he's 35, and the Wizards should be already looking towards another option point guard anyway, right? Right now, the Wizards have nobody on their roster.
I guess it depends what pick you get, right?
It depends on what
obviously.
pick you get, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. So like most of the mock drafts that I've been looking at have the Wizards picking 7th or 8th. I think the highest I saw was 6. These are just mock drafts, obviously, but I'm sure they base their shit on some sort of odds.
Well,
right?
it's all going to be determined by the remaining 20+ games of the season.
Okay, right. So in the 6 to 8 range, I've seen more names like Kuminga that Jamal talked about.
Kuminga's going to be gone by 5, though. The top 5 are somewhat known.
He's going to go that high, you think?
Yeah, it's going to go Cunningham, Mobley, and then some combination of Suggs, Green, and Kuminga for the first 5.
That's pretty much consensus, right?
Okay. So yeah, I think either way, I think the Wizards. I think the point guard is going to be a huge gap in the depth chart. It already is after Westbrook. Just something to think about.
That's a great point, and we haven't had any consistent bench presence in a while
at
either.
all.
So I'm, look, this isn't fucking 2K. Like we don't have to have starting your rookie starting right away. I mean, we need some impact players. I mean, look what New York did. Who's the guy they got from Kentucky? Who's like a fucking fantastic, like
Emmanuel Quickly.
Yeah,
quickly,
7th
yeah.
to 8th man.
He
but
might get rookie of the year this year.
I mean, he's got to be in the mix, right?
Yeah,
So
he's in.
LaMelo's injury knocks him out.
yeah.
But yeah, go ahead.
But yeah, I mean, to keep the scoring going is just as important as having somebody else. I mean, if we find a way to sign a free agent for kind of more of a defensive presence, because I think again
you want to sign Jan Mahimi back.
we're solid on scoring, but we need either a bench lift and some type of defense. I mean, we can't continue to trot out offensive weapons and give up 120 points regularly.
It's okay, Jamal. The world is going to look a lot nicer in a few months when Scott Brooks is no longer your coach.
Yeah, okay. You can put that in writing.
Oh, guaranteed. May 16th will be the last game that Scott Brooks coaches for the Wizards.
I'm not. Well, let me just say this. I'm not as concerned about Brooks still being here. I'm wondering about Shepard. Like, what's the plan for
your boy?
The revamp.
Thomas.
The real
Thomas.
I am almost done with Peaky Blinders. That's good stuff, Zane.
Tommy Shelby.
Tommy, it's going to be really interesting. It's, say the real goal, and goal is not the right word, but, the pipe dream is that you lure Masai Ujiri away from Toronto. If Ted gives him $10 million a year and stake in Monumental Sports ownership, that's a pretty tempting offer.
Yeah, and if my aunt had a dick, she'd be my uncle. But
and I want to fuck Angie Dickinson, but maybe then
I want to fuck Angie Dickinson. I just got that. Let's see who gets lucky first.
Maybe Tommy is kept in as a number 2 role, maybe the way he was before, or maybe he's just let go entirely.
Yeah, or maybe he just hires Jay Gruden. I don't know.
Jay Gruden, wow. Might as well hire Randy Whitman back at that point.
Oh, fuck it. Is he here?
Fuck him. No, I like Tommy Shepard. I've always respected him as an NBA executive. I think he has a good eye for talent, but there's no better time than now for the Wizards to move on from him, from Brooks. And my biggest point of skepticism is exactly who you mentioned, Jamal, Ted Leonsis. I wish that at some point I can believe that he actually wants to put some sort of effort in turning this franchise around. The reason for my skepticism is because he's the same guy that employed Ernie Grunfeld for 16 seasons.
Forever.
Right, forever.
To be fair, it was seven years under him after Abe Pollin.
That's fine. That's fine. But at that point, the proof was in the pudding with Ernie. Ernie stayed his tenure, I think, almost 11 years too longer than he did. But here's the thing. Everything needs to change from the top down, the culture. We talk about these assholes and hooligans that we want on the roster, right? Where does that come from? That comes from the top, right? There has to be a culture that's acceptable to the owner to allow that, right? And because the GM has to be somebody who is going to walk around with his chest out, who's going to walk around talking about, I've been there, I've done that, I'm taking charge. And the question for me is Ted willing to actually put that kind of a guy in charge of his basketball team? I just haven't seen him. It's not that he doesn't want to. I feel like he just takes the lazy way out. That's why we're skeptical about whether or not Scott Brooks is going to coach after the season, right? Because we have to see it to believe it.
I can understand.
We need a Suge Knight type person.
Yeah.
Suge Knight with Flav.
The Wizards are what?
So John's bodyguard when he was here in DC, Flav, he wore a red suit on the night that John hit the game 6 shot. And he was the Suge Knight of Death Row DC. Correct.
On the photoshops. Yeah. No, the Wizards are realistically one respectable head coach, 2 solid vets, and a high potential rookie away from being a good team, in my opinion. So
that's a lot of things.
The team shouldn't be as bad as it is now.
That's a lot of things, yeah. Honestly. Even that, right? Like right now, even that's one of the bigger talking points on Twitter with Wizards fans is how better would this team be if Scott Brooks wasn't coaching? And the consensus is considerably better. Yeah. They've got pieces. That core that we've talked about, Rui and Bertans and Beal and Westbrook, like that alone, you got bodies around them and they're coachable. Yeah, if a good coach is going to get them to play, right?
Real play calling, like they should have been better. Yeah.
We can break this down quite a bit. If they had a more competent head coach, if they didn't get hit with COVID, if they didn't get hit with any of the injuries to whoever, Thomas Bryant, Bertans, Beal is hurt now. If all of that stuff goes perfectly, yeah, they're clearly an above 500 team. Instead, they're what, 17-32?
Disgusting.
They almost have double the losses as they do wins.
Yeah. So
which they'll probably hit soon anyway. So what do we do long term? I mean, you said it's 24 games left in the season.
24 games left.
If I'm a prudent, GM,
tank.
Correct.
Fucking lead these guys. Let them sit, man.
Hopefully they're being strategic and they're using. Hopefully, obviously, I don't wish an injury on anybody, but Bradley Beal has now missed 5 games with what they're calling a right hip contusion after he took a pretty, hard fall on his tuchus. But
the fuck?
They're holding Rui out too with shoulder, tightness. So maybe they're playing the long game here. Okay, we can purposely lose these games. That's okay.
It looks to be that way, and if that's the plan, then just fucking keep at it, man.
So, I mean, based on the standings, are they in the top 5 right now?
Yeah. So they are they have the 5th worst record in the NBA currently.
The 5th worst record. The Cavs are half a game ahead.
Correct.
The Raptors are 2 games ahead. The Magic are only half a game behind. And I mean, the Thunder have 3 more wins. So you could get lucky and get in the 4th spot.
So with the current lottery rules, I believe it's the 3 worst teams have the equal chance at number 1 pick.
Okay. I forgot about that lottery shit.
Yeah, so I think everybody, if you fall in the worst 3, you get a 14-point-something% chance or something like that.
Right. It used to be that you get the 25% chance if you're the worst team.
Yeah. Well, tank or not, if we look at the Wizards' upcoming schedule, there's still 5-game road games left. They played their first of 6 straight road games. They go to Orlando tomorrow, and then they've got a little mini Midwest West Coast trip: Golden State, Phoenix, Utah, Sacramento. Those are all 1,000% losable games, even if they tried.
Yeah, I mean, especially Phoenix.
I
don't see any wins on that. Especially if we keep. I mean, if we holding guys out, I mean, that should be 6 straight. It's hard to watch, but again, we're playing long game. Thank God we didn't do a typical like Ernie move, and I mean, we added
Trevor Ariza.
We did a total lateral move at the trade deadline, but we didn't mortgage our 1st round pick. We didn't do some really bring in salary, like none of that really dumb shit.
Nothing,
so that gives me some hope. But again, without knowing what the front office is going to look like,
right?
Who knows what that amounts to?
Yeah, I mean, like the roster is pretty immovable at this point. You've got probably 8-9 guys that are set into in stone and on the payroll, and very little wiggle room outside of that, and very little cap space to work with that little wiggle room at that. So at this point is what I'm saying is there's no other choice but to bring in a guy who can coach these motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Just coach the fuck out of them, because you got nothing else to work with. You can move some guys, move some salaries for other salaries and bring some new guys in. But that's the extent of the talent ceiling of the roster. It's not going to get much better than this.
No, that's it.
It's not, right?
Most likely it's going to be the core that has remaining years on their contracts here, and then a draft pick and maybe, your mid-level exception player signing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. But you're really in the same level of talent. So
Robin
we'll
Lopez.
See. We'll get Brooke instead,
No, Brooke is way better than Robin.
So speaking of who's better than who, ESPN, I don't know if anybody checked this or if anybody even respects ESPN rankings at all, but ESPN did their top 25, under 25 players in the NBA. It's based off of potential. I'm not sure the exact metrics, but run down a couple of the guys that made the top 5. Luka was first. Zion second. LaMelo third. Donovan Mitchell and Jason Tatum round out the top 5. So these are the top 25, top 5 under 25 with the highest potential, based on how they performed so far. De'Aaron Fox is in the top 10. Ben Simmons, Devin Booker, Bam Adebayo, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander are in the top 10.
Up there.
Shai's up there.
I like him, man. He's a good player.
Yeah, I like Shai too. So some people that I felt were ranked too low They had Trae Young at 16.
Hmm.
They had John Morant at 15. Jamal Murray was
Murray
20. No. I'm sorry. Jamal Murray was
13.
And Colin Sexton was ranked last. I'm a Sexton fan. I think he's got better game than being last place. We can go through the whole list, but before him was Lonzo, Jared Allen, John Collins, Tyrese Halliburton was 21, DeAndre Ayton 20. Anthony Edwards, I thought was. I think he's about right. He's 19. He's 19.
I feel like some of these guys are like they're getting punished for being on shitty teams / shitty markets. Like Colin Sexton is a good player. He should, but
and there's a 40 game sample size on Anthony Edwards right now. Like
true. He had a slow start for I mean, realistically.
He had Nate Duncan on his ass.
Two guys I didn't mention, Brandon Ingram and Jaylen Brown, were 11 and 12. So those are some big names too. So
this is
Jaylen Brown, Mr. Underrated.
Room for growth, right? You said potential.
Right.
I
Yeah.
feel like some of these guys are at
That's why LaMelo is way up there, because
LaMelo has I'm a LaMelo stan, but there's that. But I think Jaylen is pretty much at his ceiling. I don't know. What do you guys think?
He could be. He could be.
I mean, I think it's more so about just having the ball in his hands more. I think that's the only potential.
Yeah, I guess so.
Score more points.
He plays on
like
both sides of the ball too. I get that.
Yeah, he does.
When you're on the team with Tatum and Walker and those kinds of players, like he works his ass off as a two-way player, which is something the Wizards need more of. They have 0 two-way players on their team right now.
Zero.
Yeah, I guess the question with Jaylen Brown is, if he's your third guy, you could win a title probably, right? But if he's your second guy, I don't know if
because Kemba's fallen off for sure. I think
Kemba needs to be like on a shitty team with the ball in his hands to really excel.
Mm-hmm. So Jalen's 24, and he's averaging career highs in just about every single major category: minutes, points, field goal.
He's like a 3-time All-Star now.
Yeah. So I guess again, we don't want to lose sight of what these rankings are based on, of what. It's basically based on, I guess, their progression so far, their uphill climb thus far early in their careers, and then how basically that trajectory continues on, right? And how much further they go based on what they've done so far and where they peak at, and where
What's
they.
the story with Trae though? Don't you feel like Trae should be higher?
That's what I said. Yeah, I think he was on my list of players that I felt were ranked too low. He's 22
because he's a comparable player, right? Steph Curry is his.
Exactly.
His ceiling, which is not going to happen, but it's pretty crazy.
Maybe they're looking at like how much he's lifted their team, because Atlanta's been shit for a while, and they've expected Atlanta to kind of turn a corner the last 2 seasons.
I don't know why they haven't. I mean, they're loaded with shooters.
Dude, I don't know why either.
So they based Trae
ultimate NBA 2K team.
They've dealt with some injuries, but they have been turning it up lately under Nate McMillan after Lloyd Pierce got canned.
Yeah. So they knocked Trae Young to 16 solely on his liability as a defender. Apparently he gets eaten up on switches.
Yeah,
it's Isaiah Thomas.
Isaiah Thomas says exactly.
Right, Isaiah Thomas was poor guy, man. And he had a
hip injury.
And he got a hip injury. So him going through those screens, I was like, man, this motherfucker's gonna die on that court, man.
Hey, but shout out Isaiah Thomas re-signing with the New Orleans Pelicans on a 10-day. So back in the NBA
he's a dog.
for now.
He's a dog.
These are my guys openly lobbying for a job. I'm glad he got signed somewhere.
Yeah.
Good guy.
Okay. I thought. So Michael Porter Jr. Oh, I didn't name. I didn't.
Not on the list.
What do you guys think he was? What do you think he was ranked?
13th.
So you think 13th? Would you guys? What number would you guys put on him in the top 25?
I would put him in.
I thought it was too high.
I think he should be. People are in love with the idea of what he can be more than what he's actually done so far.
Thank you.
So I would put him in the 20s, frankly.
In the 20s?
I would put him like right around swap him and Sexton. Honestly,
he's at 14.
See, man.
I know. Yeah, I was gonna ask. I was gonna ask what you would have.
How old is he though?
But 22.
22.
That's still a young man.
But Job Morant is like.
Oh, I definitely think John Morant should be higher. I 100% agree with that. But I do like Michael Porter Jr.'s game. If the Wizards were to move Bradley Beal, and I don't think they are, if you get me Michael Porter Jr., obviously they can't do this trade anymore because Gary Harris is off to Orlando for Aaron Gordon. But if I had Michael Porter Jr., Gary Harris, RJ Hampton, 3 first-round picks, I'd feel pretty good about that haul on Bradley Beal.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree too. That was one of my favorite trade scenarios.
Yep.
I agree. All right, so that was the top 25 for this year. The Wizards have 5 years to get either Denny Avdia or maybe 4 years to get Rui on this list. All right, so there we go. Let's see how that development goes.
Poor Denny, man.
Yeah,
God bless Denny. He's feeling it.
We're going to switch on over to the NFL. Some quarterback updates. Sam Darnold got traded to Carolina. They only gave up a second, a fourth, and a sixth. Did I get that right?
Right, and it's a 6th round pick in 2021. Not, and the 2nd and 4th are not until 2022. When in theory, Carolina thinks that they're going to be a little bit better. Not so high of a 2nd round pick.
That's the best investment that you could make as a team for Sam Darnold.
Buy low.
Yeah, because I think Sam Darnold, I watched him play in New York, and I think New York was just a shit show altogether, and Sam Darnold was just thrown into that fire.
The Adam Gase special.
The Adam Gase special, but they just had no talent around them in general either. He didn't really have a target.
They had a 40-year-old Frank Gore.
Yeah, a 40-year-old Frank Gore. Bless that man. And so it's one of those situations where it's easy to say, he deserves a second chance in a new environment. So I think Carolina leveraged enough to get a guy like that they can feel like they could turn his career around after a short time. Darnold's what? Is he 20? He's not. I know he's not 25. He's
23.
23. So, right. You're essentially getting an experienced rookie. Thoughts?
That's one way to look at it.
I think that was attracting a lot of Washington fans.
Yeah. Like, I am just continue to be fascinated now by what this means for the draft coming up. You know, you had the 49ers moving up to the 3rd spot. So now in theory is 1, 2, 3 all going to be quarterbacks. And supposedly Adam Schefter was dropping some knowledge on, I think, ESPN radio or something, where he said, I would be surprised if Alabama's Mac Jones is not selected by the 49ers at 3, which was wild. People thought, maybe that would be somebody that drops to Washington at 19. But shit, he's gone at 3. Man,
that would be. Teams like him. Carolina liked him. San Francisco likes him. I'm not sure.
Maybe explain to me how Mac Jones rose so far, because I thought he was projected around.
They drinking the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, he rose out of nowhere. I felt.
Is it like the system? Is he, traditional pro style quarterback type guy? Like, what's the?
Well, there's been a lot of good Alabama quarterbacks, but I guess they say he is the best of the bunch in recent memory.
Better than Tua. Better than. What other Alabama quarterbacks have there been that actually did anything?
Nobody.
Like McCarron didn't do anything.
Yeah, there's been nobody. They're not really. I mean, their teams are so talented. Correct. How do you scout a player like that who has?
I tend to always think about the quarterback last in terms of Alabama's talent year to year. I mean, the skill positions and the defense.
Exactly. Their defense, they have the best receivers,
running backs, receivers. Yeah,
they have the best everything. Like, so it's how do you gauge a play like that? But I mean, if someone like Kyle Shanahan is looking at him and saying, "Okay, I can work with this," I don't know if that's also a win now mentality. Like, I don't know why Carolina was interested in him, but for San Fran, I mean, they're desperate. Kyle Shanahan's desperate. He's not the type of guy that's looking to wait another couple years. They want out of the Jimmy G thing, whatever that is. So, I mean,
the Jimmy G experience.
Yeah, I mean, they're done with the Jimmy G experience. They've probably been done with it for a couple years now, to be honest, based on what I've seen. But I'm not sure. I mean, I wouldn't. I'd be mad if the Redskins the Washington football team drafted him, but it's so hard to tell. That team is stacked.
And Ron Rivera, I trust with Washington after last season, so I ain't too worried about that. But it's going to be an exciting draft. I always like when we're not involved in all of these, who's going to reach for the quarterback kind of things.
Yeah, I agree. Like when they're going top 3, most of them, then it kind of makes things a little bit more predictable. So number 2 is what, Zach? Is it Wilson
from BYU?
Yeah, or is it
Trey Lance?
Trey Lance dropped, right? I mean, he's a project essentially.
So where's Fields projected now?
Who?
Yeah,
Justin Fields. Fourth quarterback then?
They're saying anywhere from, it's weird. Like some people have him like way lower in the draft. Some people have him in the first round. It's weird.
Didn't somebody like put him at like the 4th round or something?
4th round
like that?
Or something like crazy, which is not going to happen. But
hey, I'd love for Washington to take him in the 2nd round.
Hey, if he ends up in the 4th round, maybe the Texans will pick him up. They might be in the market for a new quarterback. I hadn't followed that news for a few days, and I decided to Google it today because it was on the agenda. And like the number kept on getting higher every time I checked the update. So it's
every time you refreshed.
20, he's at 22 now, and I think the first
just like a Bitcoin stock.
Yeah. Oh my god, the first accuser came out today, shunning all anonymity and coming out.
She did like an interview or something.
She did an interview with somewhere with a paper. It was just her talking about kind of just restating that she was assaulted and that she's no longer afraid to speak up, and that she's been living with it for a few years. But at the same time, he's got 22 cases against him, and now 18 massage therapists are coming out to defend him publicly.
Yeah, so I remember that's the last thing. That's the last piece of news I saw, and I don't know what his PR team thought that was supposed to accomplish, because it doesn't in any way.
One of my friends sent me the link.
Wait a second. Now wait a second here.
Yeah, this dude was like, he sent me a link. He's like, look at this. 18 massage therapists gave him a 5-star review. I was like, what the fuck is that?
Doesn't in any way take away
on
from
what app?
Accusers.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, if he's gonna do this, he should have done to all of them. Like,
Grassman. I
This
haven't seen any actual. I mean, there was I think it was an ESPN write up of or some publication.
all the accounts,
all the accounts, right? And
That's
some of them
ESPN,
said, had a text message that said this, and then he apologized this way. I didn't see any of that, and I don't know if the publication saw it, but that's the kind of
there
stuff
was one text message I saw.
You saw a text? It's like a screenshot?
It was, I remember seeing one, and it was like, oh, like, where are you at? And she was like, oh, I'll be there at 12:15. And he was like, okay, just make sure you use the bathroom before you get here, because the bathroom here is not working or something like that. And then there was like a delay in time, and it was like, I'm sorry if you, if anything, blah, 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 like, let me know. We can do this again. You fix it. Or some shit like that. I remember seeing an actual screenshot.
Yeah, those are the things I was waiting for to come out next. Like, it seems like that would be the next kind of shoe to drop. But if people are, if a woman's going off anonymous and actually interviewing now, I don't know how this ends for him. I don't know.
Yeah, this is an interesting thing because, obviously these are all civil suits, but obviously it's up to a prosecutor whether they want to file criminal charges. It's a crime, right? So I'm more interested, and maybe this is too heavy, but like just the like you always have you have one group of friends that's like, oh, all these women, they're just making this shit up, like, blah, blah, blah. It's all about the money. And then I'm in the other group where it's just like, where there's smoke, there's fire, right? And
a lot of fucking smoke.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just curious because
plumes of smoke.
Let's just get down to it, right? Yeah. We are men, right? And there's a large group of men that see this and they automatically jump to this. Oh, these women, they're just trying to get, put their hands out, and this is what women do. And I agree, there are women that do this at an alarming rate, but at the end of the day, the biggest threat to women on this planet are men. And
especially rich men who feel
exactly
entitled. Yeah,
exactly. Yep. We are the biggest threat to women.
There's a whole movement about it,
basis. And they still talk to us, right? Why? There's a comedian who had a big bit. He's like the biggest, like, on the food chain, like, we are, like, we're the biggest threat to them, right? Yeah. Like, you don't see us hanging out with lions and tigers as men, right?
Yeah,
because that would be stupid.
Yeah.
But
and like you said, with men, it's with these type of situations, it's always considered guilty until proven innocent, just because of the way fucking men are.
Yeah,
and that's the way you look at it and approach it. As much as you want to believe that, the timing is kind of suspect, right? Like, right as he's demanding a trade, all those things, all those thoughts circling in your head. But at the end of the day, you're just like, no, wait a second. We are the biggest threat to these to women, and you always have to just wait it out and let everything transpire.
But like the biggest thing is, like, there is no playbook on what to do in your life if you've been sexually assaulted.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
There is, it is a feeling that men cannot attach themselves to of like,
No.
if something happens to me, am I going to say something or am I going to keep my mouth shut? Right.
There really is no
Like,
parallel for men. Yeah.
I'm a fucking
It's
human
insane.
being. You know, I
Yeah.
might wake up a year from now and be like, you know, it might be eating at me for that time. Right. And it's like in life, you either pick one avenue or another, right? If you don't say anything, you're showing some level of strength. Or if you come out and say something, you're showing some level of strength, right? But anytime it's in between where someone tries to deal with it, you know, personally, and then changes their mind, right? Because that's one of the biggest things. Like, humans don't understand other humans' right and also habit of changing how they feel about something, right?
Right.
Do you understand what I'm
Right.
saying? Like,
Absolutely. No.
you reserve the right to
it's-
change your opinion, and you reserve the right to act on things, you know.
Yeah. It's basically the objectivization of women that's been inherent
At the end
among
of the
men
day,
because this is what happens for a human being, and I'm not even going to call them male or female, but for a human being to have to live with that fear of having to go through that trauma and be fearful of sharing or exposing it or reaching out for help because of it, because of it backfiring on you. This has happened very close to me with people that I know, and I've had to experience seeing a woman come out and finally expose what's happened and express. And it's
because she thought she was being strong by not saying anything,
exactly,
right?
or just fearful of saying anything. Right, because it's always, even especially when you escalate it to Hollywood and to government and politics, right? It's even more so the idea for women that if I say something, they'll always believe the men. And then
Or I have to relive it. I have to relive it.
Right.
The
But
trauma.
moreover, I'll be shunned by it. I'll be ridiculed for it. I'll be made a joke out of it because I have no place to speak. And that's that's why these women contain these feelings, these experiences for so long. And when I experience them, when I see them kind of lift that burden off their shoulders, it's almost like a burden off of my own shoulders as well, because you just seeing that trauma unfold and their relief of it, you know, you kind of feel that really deeply. So shout out to those women. You can only hope for the best for them. We want to find we want to know the truth and see where it takes us. So wow, I can't, either way. The documentary is going to be pretty sick. Probably it's going to be some crazy shit's going to be all these questions that we have, how it's going to end,
10 years from now,
everything. It's going to be like,
and honestly, like the biggest takeaway, like Jamal said, it's always about power, right?
Yeah.
Why do these people do this? It's about power. You know what I'm saying? It's like one thing we're not going to ever understand.
Right.
Certain president can relate to that, right?
Yep. All right. Well, we're gonna catch up with some TV. We're gonna hop right into theater. On that note, let's get to it. Cue Into the Storm finale. Jamal. Speaking of trauma, what's going on, man?
So, I definitely need a shower after the finale. Mainly because, look, we I think yesterday we passed the 4-month anniversary of the or is it today?
Today is the 3-month anniversary.
3 months of Storm the Capitol, right?
Wow.
So the last 2 episodes aired on Sunday. I just finished a little while ago. I had to break it up a little bit. 2 kind of takeaways that have always kind of sat with me about not only the Q movement, but kind of conservative media and the power of conservative media in general is, one, never underestimate the lure of internet celebrity, right? I always wonder, why would you maybe hop on from being an Obama voter to jumping on the most polarizing figure, arguably in political history? Why would you want to alienate your circle, your friends, your family? People like celebrity. People like to go viral. People like impressions. People like to be put on this platform of, again, notoriety, just for the sake of, internet fame, right? And I tend to lose sight of that sometimes. Like, why would people do this? But it's a very modern kind of 21st century thing to be into. The other thing is never assume that highly educated people are fucking smart. I look at so many people that hop onto the Q movement and people with respectable educational backgrounds, fucking attorneys and like PhDs and very accomplished stockbrokers and salespeople. And I mean, you name it, from every corner of industry, and all the way to respected military officials. I look at like Michael Flynn, who had some shit with his background, but he is a highly decorated military veteran, right? People who voluntarily give up their go into their legal careers and throw it away to chase the most outlandish theories, right? So that was kind of the backdrop of, again, these last two episodes. These last two kind of focus on the guy Fred, who created 4chan or 8chan and actually sold it off to this guy Jim Watkins and his son Ron, and how he tries so hard to distance himself from how toxic the site had become. Hosting.
And this is the guy with the disability, right?
Yeah. So that the fact that the site was breeding ground for like incels and end up being mass shooters and shit like that, he hated what the site had become. It become, once a kind of fun place that was full of just like internet junk to, getting a breeding ground for like the worst of the worst people. And he tried again to, get the guy Jim and his son to kind of damp down what's going on and kind of clear out all the mess that had become. And they didn't listen because they wanted to keep the site rolling. So Fred ended up, basically defaming them and on the internet and in tweets and just dragging them, calling them all sorts of terrible shit. Fred got sued. He had to fucking flee the Philippines and get to LA to escape what was going to be almost a sure indictment. I mean, he would have been in prison in the Philippines because their libel laws, I guess, are way more harsh than ours. And then on the other side, it's, again, Ron and Jim, father and son, who, purported not to know much about Q, but there was a lot of conflict with that, a lot of double speak. If you watch to the end, you'll get a very good feel for who Q most likely is. Not explicitly mentioned, but the filmmaker did a very good job in piecing together a lot of inconsistencies from a certain person and pulling the whole story together at the end. So how the final episode closes with, the culmination of all this dumb shit, which is the storming of the Capitol, people still believing that Trump had a path to victory, that there was always a plan, quote unquote, still going on. And Ron, who tweeted under the name Monkey Z I talked about before, pushing so much bullshit up through the last few days. He was getting retweeted by Donald Trump, and he was getting picked up by like, the far reaches of the right wing of the internet. And, ultimately they closed the book on Q. And I don't think Q has posted anything since the insurrection, or maybe it was since inauguration day. But what I was, what I took away is, what would stop this from happening again? I don't think anything. Yeah. A very, small movement could snowball once again, and we can be very well in this situation. Because look, the far right is not going anywhere. They're organizing. If anybody knows, it would be me, because I listen to this shit every day.
Torture.
Yeah, but look, man, I mean, I think we should all be wary of another movement like this starting. We saw the Tea Party movement and what it did in 2010, how they fucking wiped out the House Democrats. And the Q movement, while way more extreme and less organized politically, still has, again, its tentacles in a lot of shit. So that part of it is a little scary to me. But ultimately it was well done.
I just remember, I think it was probably back in August. I was talking to a friend who has a government background in school. So he was explaining this whole QAnon phenomenon to me. And I was like, what the fuck is this bullshit that you're telling me about?
And how long ago was that?
That was in August, 8 months ago.
Yeah.
And literally there are, to this day, millions and millions of people that still believe with their heart and soul in it. And it's just come on, people, have some street smart for once. Not everything's book smart. You got to have common sense too.
Yeah.
It's not even about that. Basically, like Jamal's saying, if you believe in something, you are willing to
walk off the edge of the earth for it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's also that, but anybody who supports your cause, you are willing to align with, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? They believe in this through and through. They're willing to believe anything, right? That right-wing media peddles that's going to put them, that's in opposition to the left, or, Hillary Clinton eating babies for, power and their blood, whatever the fuck.
And as long as these type of figures exist in government, in Congress, as executive officials, as elected officials, the movement beneath that will always remain strong, because there are going to be people on that side, you know, that are going to be smart enough to get there, right? Not smart in the intellectual sense, but smart enough to move the needle for themselves and get to a point where they have actual power, you know, with legislature, and other elements of government. So that's what's scary about it the most for me, is seeing these actual congressmen, these congresswomen on the right, pushing some of these same agendas, some of these same talking points that, you know, some of these nutcases from Q push. Your Laura Boberts and your MGTs and shit. Right.
And the crazy thing is, once they get it elected into office, there's really not much you can do. I mean,
you can do right.
You can talk this. We're going to, start a committee to investigate this and try to expel her. They're not going. They're going to serve.
But I get you don't. But there's still this domino effect to me. Like, you have these elected officials and their constituents, and they're holding these town halls, and who's showing up to these town halls? Like you said, Zane, these people are always going to align with the people that support their cause. And when those people have that much power, you know, the awareness is going to remain, the movements are going to continue. And our only hope is that there's enough control, you know, and enough reinforcement back against them if it happens to spill over into violence again. So
yeah, was there anybody in the documentary that was, because I watched some of it, and there were people that, like, the critics or not the doubters, but like the guy who had the podcast specifically to basically negate everything that, you know, QAnon was standing for, but they didn't have anybody that was like, hey, I used to be involved in this until I realized it was bullshit, right? Because they said all this stuff was going to happen, and it didn't happen. Like, after the election, they said Trump was going to do this and that, but
I didn't see any of that in the doc. I think we may see some stories like that. It's still fairly early though.
So wait, there's still more episodes to come, or is
no, that was it. That was six total. Yeah. So that was
because I was going to ask about that, because one of the Twitter pages that you shared with me, Conservative Takes or something, one of the parody sites.
It's changed its name a few times.
Yeah, but they always share, you know, posts on Parler, and, you know, after the insurrection, when they realized nothing happened, and, you know, they still went through with the election, they didn't reverse anything. There's people posting like, okay, guys, we're taking off, we're leaving this movement. We were gypped, we were duped.
Yeah, we were duped. I love that. That's the post I was talking about. Like, where are these guys, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
they're probably too embarrassed though to.
We were duped.
Come out and be like, we were duped.
Yeah,
we were duped.
Yeah, we were duped. Oh man.
Jesus! All right,
letting a wild goose chase.
So two episodes, right? And they were each 90 minutes or so.
The last 2 episodes, yeah, right.
Not even 90 minutes, about an hour, a little over an hour, I believe. Yeah.
HBO Max. I might catch it now just to see how it all unfolded.
If you ever seen they had a bit, I think that he has a Jim Jeffries or something, has a TV show, and they interviewed like 6 like QAnon members. Yo, it is
that was so
funniest
good.
Fucking shit. Good. This one dude was like, I mean, they're the worst kind of people on the earth. They're worse than pedophiles. And the guy was like, what's worse than pedophiles? He's like, them.
Oh my,
funniest shit ever.
Oh man, all right, I'll definitely try to catch that. I'm gonna switch gears real hard.
Big left turn
from QAnon to Earth, Wind, and Fire and the Isley brothers. This segment is for Jamal's great uncles. If you're tuning in and you caught the
great uncle.
Yeah.
This is for Thaddeus. It's for Thaddeus and Leon.
Leonard the Third and shit.
Leonard the Third.
This for y'all. The Isley brothers squared off against Earth, Wind, and Fire in the latest Verzuz. I've dabbled in both discographies. I really have. Earth, Wind, and Fire I preferred more than Isley Brothers. Isley Brothers scarred me as a child, because you remember when Ron Isley was in the R. Kelly video,
R. Kelly trapped in the closet,
and he beat the brakes off of his girl.
Yeah. What the hell is going on between in my home?
That's like oh, there you go. That's what I'm talking about. That's like the lasting memory I have of the Isley Brothers. You know, I'm only 39, so
I was in middle school probably when that shit came out.
Right. Earth, Wind, and Fire though, man, like Boogie Wonderland, Sing a Song, you know, Got to Get You in My Life. Like, that was the shit.
Yeah.
So I caught a bit of it. Steve Harvey hosted, had a fantastic suit on, called it his Easter suit. Jamal, I know you got some takes. I think he ran it too much about the good old days.
Go to the black guy first, huh?
Okay.
Man, I tried to watch it. I tuned in. I mean, the setup was perfect. I was geeked to Steve Harvey's hosting because all I could think about was like him going off and Kings of Comedy talking about every time they played a song, kicking the mic stand over and shit. Like he's perfect host, right? But man, there was so much fucking talking, man. I mean, so many interviews between songs. The lead up to it with Steve doing his fucking stand up and / monologue, and then sitting down on the couch with them. And I was like, when the fuck you starting the music, man? And then when it was decent. It was I kind of popped back and forth. I don't think I've ever watched the Verzuz uninterrupted, but that's what I grew up on, man. Like less Isley's and more Earth, Wind and Fire. My dad was like huge Earth, Wind and Fire Parliament Funkadelic fan. So I was singing and listening to That's the Way of the World and shit like that since I was like 5-6 years old. So I wanted to hear that stuff. And Earth, Wind, and Fire has just got timeless music. You can throw that shit on pretty much any setting. Songs like September and, again, That's the Way of the World and Shining Star. Like all that shit doesn't age at all,
Right.
That shit stays pristine. So, I like the fact that it's still rolling. Like I said, I checked out some of it. It was pretty good. It's pretty good.
It's funny how Verzuz has evolved, and I think we've talked about this before. How it was, kind of just two dudes from their own living rooms. You had mic issues, you had video issues, fucked up audio, all that shit. And now they got like a full blown stages. But I still enjoy the concept. Just kind of bringing two similar groups, bands, and just have them go, bar for bar, song for song.
Yeah, especially if they have history with each other or history around that same era. Yeah, that shit works, man.
Right.
That's why we talk about things that we don't want to get rid of from lockdown. Verzuz is definitely one of those. It's a fucking free concert. I think I hope they find a way to keep this around in some form, even when the world opens back up. But
it's always interesting when I hear the matchups like in the past and like you kind of get people's perspective on music. Because I'll hear about a Verzuz, but oh my god, it's blah blah for blah blah, and then like the other person's like, well, easily this one's gonna win. I'm just like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like one was like it was 112 and Jagged Edge, and I was like, come on, man, right? That was one. Then the other one that blew my fucking mind the other day was people were arguing, and if you guys feel that way, tell me now. But people were arguing that Chris Brown would beat Usher in a Verzuz, and I was like.
I remember that talk a few weeks ago.
It was a few weeks ago, and I was like, I cannot name any timeless Chris Brown song. And I'm not saying Usher's music is timeless, but he has some hits.
Usher had some fucking bangers, bro.
Some hits.
He had a long stretch of just killing shit.
Exactly. Even from his first album to Confessions, and like I didn't understand.
I would definitely
where the competition was.
I would definitely bet that the younger people think that Chris Brown could take Usher.
Yeah, I mean, that's usually what it is.
I guess, but like,
I think they both got fire.
Well, they mix in shit too. Like people throw in for Verzuz, artists will sing like hooks or guest appearances that don't shit and like throw that into the mix too.
Yeah,
but still, I mean, Usher, like
Usher's Usher.
Chris Brown is also a little bit more pop than R&B.
He is, but like none of his music, because I mean, I'm not into it. Maybe that's why I don't remember any of the big songs that he's had that are like even when
Chris Brown, so
even like I hate like right, the most overly saturated song like ever, right? But like that's a hit.
Sure.
Like that's
by Usher is one of those songs where at the time when it dropped, I felt like there was no better song in history than that song. At that moment, it was just one of those things.
You remember the first time you heard "You Don't Have to Call"?
What's that?
You don't have to call.
Yeah, you don't have to call.
Yeah.
This shit is like gold, yo.
Yeah,
it's really good, timeless.
My way, like you remind me.
You got it bad.
Let's go. Movie Mountains.
I mean,
you got
the
it bad.
Confessions album by itself is just it's like an R&B singer at his apex, right? Like you don't get that anymore.
One day you'll be mine to the Ice Cube beat, like to the it was a good day beat. You know what I'm talking about, right? Have you heard it?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know.
Who is on your Verzuz wish list? What matchups?
Let me see.
I got Redman and Method Man up there.
That's a weird match. Yeah, I mean,
yeah, I guess. But they have record
Method
wise,
Man's in a group, so I mean, how much of his
Right.
group stuff could he use?
right? I guess in terms of like, you know,
And then
they're
who
just-
who would claim Rockwilder? Like who would get birthright to
But
that?
right, so right, but if we keep it at like kind of a verse for verse kind of competition,
Mhm.
like it doesn't have to be song for song. You know, so some of these verses work out that way where it's kind of song for song, or if it's two producers, just beat for beat, right? You know, like Primo versus RZA.
Yeah.
And that was one of the competitions where everybody going into that battle was like Primo was gonna wipe him off the map.
It's a style
A lot
clash.
of
It's a
people
good
did.
style clash.
A lot of people did, but then once RZA started dropping some of his songs like Cream and you know, 36 Chambers and Chess Box and all these other beats, everyone was
his
like, wait a
music hits different.
second. Now hold on a second. These were bangers.
Hold up.
So Dr. Dre hasn't done one, right? Which
Uh-huh.
I'm sure he would schedule it and it would never fucking come out. So
Dre
That's
also
one
had some
thing.
fucking health problems recently. Like he might not be.
he is.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm not trying to shit on Dr. Dre, but
No,
I'm
no,
just
I
so
got you.
tired of this fucking. It's this stupid shit, right? Where you hear about it and then some random rapper comes out. Oh yeah, I heard Detox Party. Yeah, I heard that. Yo, it's gonna change music. And I'm like, and this shit never fucking comes out. Like, bro, I don't care how much of a perfection. Like,
Yeah.
Dr. Dre sonically, he makes great music. I don't know. People, that's a whole different topic, right? Have Boyz II Men done one?
No. I was gonna say Jodeci in total, but you can easily put in Jodeci and Boys and Men.
Yeah, you could do.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but that's is that.
How about we just break it down to
Names.
Casey versus JoJo?
Yeah, I should do that. Right? I mean, Jodeci's great, but that's the thing. Nobody's gonna fuck with Boyz II Men. Who to me, no contemporary.
I don't know, man.
Man,
Contemporary. Who's gonna
Jodeci
fuck
has some
with
hits too, man.
I'm fucking with Jodeci all day.
Over Boyz II Men.
Over Boyz II Men.
Personally, I
100%.
would. Yeah. Other people I want to see, I don't know who to pair.
It's so
them up
funny.
with, though.
The two black guys agree. What do you go figure?
Stupid. Yo,
The
Boyz
other-
II. Oh man.
Other people
Wait
I
till
want to
that
see, but
Motown Philly
I
comes
don't know
on,
how to
boy.
match them up. I was thinking maybe like I want to see Kendrick in there somewhere. And I was thinking like Common. We got to find a way to put Wayne in versus.
Mm.
Like, I
he
want to see Lil
has
Wayne.
so many. Yeah.
Yeah, to my hits, man.
We can just
Um,
keep going with like the historic beefs. I'm sorry, like Ti versus Flip. Like
Oh,
Lil
Lord,
Yeah.
that would not end well. That would not end well.
Ti versus Wayne is pretty. I think that's pretty decent.
Is it?
It's-
Yeah, had
Wayne's-
some good music.
It's solid. Ti has hits, which is good.
Ti has
Yeah.
hits. Wayne doesn't have a lot of.
Mainstream. Well, he does,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
a few.
Right.
right.
Lil Kim versus Foxy. Let's get that.
Oh,
I heard a
shit,
rumor
yeah.
about that, right? I thought I heard something about that.
That would be a good one.
Abdullah started the rumor.
Yeah. Or Mia X versus I'm just kidding.
versus Trina. Versus Trina.
Versus Trina. You know that.
And we gotta get Justin Timberlake in one, man.
Ooh, my guy.
Justin Timberlake and Usher.
There you go. There you
It's
go.
a
That's,
good
that's
matchup.
it.
There you
That's
go.
the
There
textbook
you go.
matchup.
I would
Fucking
tune in
book
for
it,
that.
Book it.
And
You heard it here
remember,
first.
remember, Usher stands. Myself got hot for a minute when they called Justin Timberlake the king of pop or the new modern day king of pop, right?
Mhm.
Because Usher was like, "Wait, hold on a fucking second." Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a good beat.
Just
I
the
like
five
some
we
of
had.
Justin's earlier work. I
Yeah,
like some of his earlier work, but
yeah.
Clips done one? Like who would Clips go against?
Oh, Chris and Neve or some shit.
Chris and Neef. PD Crack and
Yeah, there you go. PD Crack versus Freeway.
$3 and
PD Crack versus Freeway.
You said
know,
Reed
Beanie and
Dollars?
Jada.
Did you say Reed
Dollars? Yeah, Reed Dollars will murder. Yo, if Reed Dollars just does his freestyle, his YouTube freestyle, where
Look
he
up Reed
doesn't
Dollars
blink,
tonight.
he doesn't
Neil-
blink for like 3 minutes. Nobody's
Yeah,
fucking with that shit.
yeah. Oh, so yeah, the stare downs were just Neil.
Yeah.
Neil
Like
and
the one dude in the
friends.
background with
Look
like
up Reed
one
Dollars
eye.
tonight.
yeah.
Look up
Oh,
Reed
yeah.
Dollars
When-
tonight.
Send the Reed Dollars. You know, Reed
Look at
Dollars
look,
battle raps now.
yeah,
Actually,
look up Joey Jihad.
Joey Jihad. Oh,
Reed Dollars started as a battle rapper. I thought. What are you talking about?
but I'm saying he's actually like in the battle rap league.
Oh, like in the league. Okay.
Yeah, and Cassidy just battle rapped again. He's in the league too. He battled last weekend.
Oh, okay. Yeah, my
so it's
Reed
interesting.
Dollars was him in a fucking like Lincoln Financial Stadium parking lot.
That John was beast, man. And that
Philly
one beat.
zone.
Bro, I used to go down fucking rabbit holes watching like the Philly dudes freestyle.
Those
Like,
freestyle.
Yo,
yeah.
I know, man.
Yeah, you ever watch like old Gilly the Kid videos? That motherfucker's a comedian, bro.
Yeah,
like
dude.
some of the shit he was saying.
Bro,
that whole
bro,
like North
bro.
Philly like street like hip hop culture.
So
was
funny. It's
yeah,
so
Smack,
good.
the old Smack
When-
DVDs.
When
Yeah.
when Gilly called into the Philly radio station when Beanie was in the studio. no, I'm sorry, vice versa. Gilly was in the studio.
And Beanie called
And Beanie called in. They pick up the phone and Beanie don't say shit, but y'all can't be fucking serious.
Yeah.
We
And Gilly
serious
just went
though.
off.
Went off. He's like, we serious.
Yeah, Gilly went off, and he got his
oh.
ass whooped, by the way, right after
so-
that.
Right after that, outside, right? Yeah.
He did, yeah. Beanie's a caught
I-
up, so what does that?
So funny. I love it. I
Broad
love it.
Street Bully.
Real talk though, DMX. Shout out to DMX. We need him to get better and do a versus with one of them 98 rappers. But DMX, hey, fuck the Green Reaper, the Grim Reaper right now, man. Trying to take X. Throw his ass in detention if he takes him. But it's looking grim though, for lack of a better term.
Man, let's hope for the best, man. I don't know. It doesn't look good at all though.
Yeah. I know X has been struggling with that shit for a while. They call it what, an accidental overdose, right? Like,
yeah.
Motherfucker wasn't trying to kill himself, but get well soon. I know there was some good news, and it kind of turned out not to be so good news. He's still in the ICU, still on life support. So we'll keep an eye out on that. Hopefully, we'll have a better update on
SWV,
him
by
next
the
week.
way. SWV.
So the good
SWV.
Yeah. We're gonna throw some dudes in detention right now. I've been waiting for this segment. This is basically like the main event of the podcast for me tonight. Paul Pierce, total personal life exposure. Backstory: broadcast a little shindig at an undisclosed location. Could have been a hotel suite. We had liquor there. We had weed. We had strippers. Booty clapping. Pierce, very shortly after, probably 36 hours later, gets canned from ESPN. Don't really think he gave a fuck about that gig at any point while he was recording or after recording. The dude is worth $500,000. ESPN was probably just his Popeyes money, but nevertheless, we put him in detention. Let's pile it on him. He's got 200 mil just in endorsements. So
$500 million.
$500 million.
$500 million.
Hey, you said $500,000. I'm like,
$500 million.
Shit.
I even
We're worth
wrote
$500,000.
Hey, blame the Henny, man. I'm on my second cup by now. So.
Hey,
$500 million worth, Paul Pierce. Nevertheless, we put him in here. Take it away, fellas. Let's pile it on Paul.
So can we be real here? I mean, the strippers weren't high quality.
No.
That's why ESPN fired him. Actually came out and said, we do not endorse any
He exercised bad judgment on a number of
personnel.
levels.
We cannot be associated with this low quality tier.
With the subpar.
Like, damn, man, those cheeks are kind of slim, man. Man,
Hey,
didn't remember Paul? God damn, I feel like when he was with the Clippers, the team was
after
tweeting about
2015.
something. The team was tweeting something about, maybe it was when they were trying to get a free agent, and everybody was tweeting shit, and then Paul
He just puts a
tweeted some shit
rocket.
with like the airplane emoji. The shit was all like basic looking. What I'm trying to get at is he's bad on social media. He's bad at technology. in general.
Everything, yeah.
And that was
He's
some real
bad at
boomer
saying
shit.
too.
Yeah,
Some
that
of
was
the
some
shit he says
boomer
on
shit to like stream. I mean, come on, dude. What the fuck you think was gonna happen?
Yeah. What if the ESPN statement said at the end, and by the way, Dwayne Wade is better than Paul Pierce? Who else do you say he was better than?
Jalen
Bunch of
Rose
players.
ended him that night with that comparison at halftime.
Yeah, I love Jalen Rose. So
I
basically,
mean, fried
I heard a
ball
porn
because-
site offered him $250,000 following
Yeah,
his
that was the
filing.
latest thing. Yeah. He said he was off to bigger and better things.
What?
He's
Anchor
to
the
To like
big-
host
big
some
thing.
show with like
The wholesome show, yeah.
Oh. There you go. That's why we got to put you in charge of the soundboard next week, man. I'm giving you the master account, bro. You got. I'm gonna give you the keys.
Yeah, you got to be dumb. Like I don't care if the like it's a job, man. Like it's money. It's doing what you love. Just talking about basketball. Like you're gonna fumble the bag to pull frog. What is the purpose? What are you trying to show?
man. He seriously forgot to hit close friends on that shit.
Somebody would have found out even if it was close.
For sure.
Yeah, I see what you're saying though.
It was bad. It was bad.
Yeah, my man was just. I mean, he was lit. We saw him smoking weed at one point. Saw him He might have been eating ass at one point. He had,
She's
he had
from
a,
Turkey. She's from
glasses.
Turkeys.
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 Yeah,
Yeah, he
turkeys
put
to
up-
death.
so, yo, that's-
Speak that accent, you guys. Speak that accent.
and everyone was wondering, did Monica show up? Like, who is Monica? We need to figure out who Monica is.
Hey, Monica, you in LA? Pull up.
Yeah.
That's how you know Paul's getting old, because he looked just like Larry Holmes with that fucked up box face.
Looking like Larry Holmes, flabby and sick.
So, like a fusion of Larry Holmes and Boozy.
Yeah.
put your pussy lips on live. I'll give you $1,000.
Yeah. Come on now, Vlad.
Shout out to Boosie, forever banned from IG.
Yeah. Who gets banned from fucking Instagram?
Yo. Unheralded Stars of Lockdown. Boosie's IG live, bro.
I've been waiting
porn on that shit, man.
So good, yeah. I know.
My god.
I've been waiting to plug that little line in, man. That Boozy line just kills.
So good, so good.
They had so many people like making parodies of like in person and like Instagram, like putting them side by side. So funny, man.
Gas tank on E, but old drinks on me.
Yo, did y'all see Boosie get mad because somebody said at the airport he looked like Flavor Flav?
Oh my god.
And he was mad as shit. And then Flav went and did a video later like, I'm mad people saying I look like Boosie. Like
Boosie. Yeah, Flavor Flav's hilarious.
Oh my god, so funny, man.
It was good. They look exactly alike. They look exactly alike.
That's fucked up. He got shot recently, Boosie, right?
Yeah, he was out in like Houston or something. Like
Houston,
like
a
Walmart parking lot. Yeah.
Shot, yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember that shit.
The shit that goes on these days.
Yeah,
bro, it's crazy.
All right, we got one other guy to rag on here tonight to close out the show. Carlton Davis, cornerback for the Buccaneers. I feel bad for Carlton Davis. First of all, I feel bad for him because he's trash at playing corner. I think he's trash. But now I feel bad for him because he tweets out the other day. I guess he's out in Miami. That's where he's from. We got to stop letting the G word, the derogatory term against Koreans, in Miami. We got to stop letting the G words in Miami. He came out with an apology saying he had no idea about it being a racial slur from where he comes from in South Florida. The G word means lame in South Florida slang. I did some research on Urban Dictionary, some really in-depth, comprehensive research, and there is an entry posted back in 2015 for this word, and defining it as a South Floridian slang term to mean lame. I feel bad for Carlton Davis. I think he's being truthful. I think he just got caught saying the wrong word at the wrong time in light in lieu of or in light of Myers Leonard and what
as a fellow 24-year-old, I will say I had no idea what the word meant before.
Right. Yeah.
I was informed earlier before this pod.
Highly regional though.
Yeah, but it's also like, well, like what was if he did mean it? Like, are they really letting like a mass amount of Vietnamese and Korean people into like Miami? Like, what's going on over there?
Get the whole picture here, right?
It's like where they go to retire.
There's two sides to every story. Hey.
So did he get in trouble? Did he get fined or anything yet?
Not yet. I mean, he deleted the tweet. Obviously, he put out a follow-up tweet, and he actually screenshot the Urban Dictionary definition to prove his point. But they're still not happy about it. Again, a lot of people are trying to, do a little false equivalency, trying to pivot. If we're going to punish Myers Leonard, who's effectively out of a job right now.
Right, but still, he's collecting his paycheck on his 9.3 million.
I get it, but you get what I'm saying. Like he's slowly getting
unemployable now.
Right, he's unemployable, and
he's in the system. He's in the system,
that's also to me, it's a little bit different because. That I think was a clear-cut case, and he was bullshitting afterwards too. Yeah. He was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't know that's what it meant." You clearly knew it had a negative connotation to it, so don't give me that bullshit.
Yeah, and he had the negative eye on him for a few weeks since the bubble last year. Obviously, it's a little trivial. We don't want to, dive too deep into him standing for the national anthem whenever everybody else kneeled, but that's a thing that kind of stuck in everybody's minds.
Sure.
And then that came out, what he said on the Call of Duty game, and everyone just kind of pieced it all together. So I feel bad for Carlton Davis. I guess the only learning lesson out of this, or learn lesson out of this, is just read up on your slurs, man. Make sure you don't say them.
Yeah, they need to send him in a room, put on Forrest Gump, Apocalypse Now, and,
no bullshit.
Full Metal
I'm
Jacket
saying,
or some shit.
You take it as a joke. I'm almost serious because times are sensitive right now, and justifiably so. There's Asian hate going on. There's real Asian crimes against Asians going on right now. It's been ongoing since the pandemic started, since, you know, our former president decided to term, you know, the COVID as such. So the hate is real, the crimes are real, the violence is real, and you know, you take it as a joke, but in reality, maybe we should just kind of beef up on what to say and what not to say, just in case. You know, again, Carlton Davis from South Florida, they said it growing up. You never heard of it, Neil.
Yeah.
You might say the wrong thing at the wrong time. We want to make sure everyone's doing the right thing.
I think everybody should be assigned like an old head, right? Like everybody should be assigned somebody who is 20 years their senior, right?
That's me and Abdullah.
Yeah, basically like that kind of relationship. Like, nah, you can't say that, bro. Like monitoring their tweets.
This could be a whole different segment, but I think a lot of the problems with young, I'm talking about black kids specifically in this case, is we don't have OGs, man. There's no OGs to be like, what the fuck are you doing?
Like, you fucking up here. You can't be doing that bullshit.
You know? Yeah, I mean, you're right. We need old heads, you know? I think Chris Rock had a bit about that. He said, you need an old black man to just travel with you.
Yeah.
Don't do that, man. That's 5 to 10. You know what I mean? Like, you just jump out.
That's what I want. Let's try to make like an old black man hologram that just follows you around like an android, like an android or something, like an android. It's coming, man. We're gonna have personal android.
Like a CP3O. No, they should do like a CP3O, like R2D2, like programmed with.
You download the old black man, like, you know, like firmware and shit.
Yeah. Name him. You can name him.
That's an app.
There you look.
That's an app
with a bunch of sound bites in it.
No, you just record your tweet into the app, and then it verifies what you're about to say, and like
and you
has Webster's built into that shit.
Right, and exactly algorithms. So you give consent to everything. The algorithms can. So the fucking phone just blurts out shit. I want to do that, son.
Yeah.
You know, like do some
dumb shit. Like you hit that, you pull out that drunk text and you about to hit send.
Yeah.
And that motherfucker pop up like, well, goddamn it, man, what the hell is wrong with you?
Yeah. It doesn't just say no, it scolds you.
Yeah. Man, what the shit?
Yeah.
Disables your phone for 5 minutes.
Yeah. You need to think about this.
Oh,
I'm
man.
shutting down.
We're getting mad innovative, and no better way to end the show with that. Stop the slurs. That's all I got. Stop the slurs. We're gonna end it right there.
Stop the hate.
Yeah. Episode 26 is in the books. Gentlemen, Jamal, Neil, Zane.
Yep.
I'm Abdullah.
Gang gang.
Catch you.